Oh, it's Friday. Oh, man, is it Friday. Look at that, J. Michael T. subscribing with his Twitch Prime. Thank you so much. 9-month subscriber. Oh, man, you are the awesome of all awesomes. Finally Friday is being brought to you this week by Major Spoilers VIP and Patreon members from around the world. You can show your support for everything that we do at Major Spoilers by pointing your browser to patreon.com/Major Spoilers. Happy Friday, everyone. Steven Schleicher here with you. I hope you are having a wonderful day and you're ready to slide into the weekend. Well, I say I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're safe wherever you are. Mark Smith 72. I thought I saw him pop into the chat a little bit ago. Had to evacuate his home because of the fires up in Oregon Way. So I hope today, Mark, that you are doing well. And I hope everyone who might be in and around fires, whether it be, you know, crazy stuff in the western part of the states, whether you're up in the, the Arctic that topped 100 degrees, whether you're in Ohio, whether you're, in places that have severe flooding over the last couple of days. Man, it's almost like something's going on. Something that we could probably change. Something that we could probably fix if we just put our minds to it. I don't know, man. Thank goodness, Mark. Mark says he is safe. So happy to hear that. Well, I know what else you're going to be happy to hear. You are in and watching Finally Friday with the greatest parent in the world. That is right. Me. The greatest parent in the world. Now, I know what you're thinking, Stephen. How can you make this fantastic claim that you are the greatest parent in the world? I'll tell you why. Behold, the latest volume of Dogman out this week. And like a good parent, knowing that my son craves everything from Dave Pilkey. I always call him Dev Pilkey. But Dave Pilkey. Knowing that my son craves this, I secured this copy on day of release so he could read it to his heart's content. All right, I got to be a little honest with you. I'm not the greatest parent in the world because there are at least 240,000 other parents who bought this book this week. 240,000 if you round up. I think the actual number as of this recording is 239,131 copies sold in the first week of its release. That is freaking amazing. The previous edition, this is volume 9, Dogman, Grime and Punishment. Also, the big important thing down here, the creator of the Captain Underpants, the second favorite book of my child's. Volume 8 of Dogman, in the first month, okay, just want you guys to put this into perspective. In the first month, sold over 500,000 copies. 500,000 copies. It was in the bestseller list in the #1 slot for 4 weeks in a row when it arrived August of 2019, I want to say, is when that volume came out. In the #1 spot. Now, let's put this into a little bit more perspective. Not just the #1 spot for kids' books. The #1 slot for all books released that month. Again, we're not talking comic books. We're not talking about books for kids. We're talking about the top 10 of all books published ever in this month. 500,000 copies. Here's the publisher's weekly breakdown of the top 10 overall for this week. So we see Dogman right there, 239,000. All Devils Are Here. This one is also a debut book. Only 58,000. Melania and Me, The Rise and Fall of My Friendship with the First Lady, only 50,000 copies sold, out this week. Midnight Sun. Now, this is one has been out since August. I mean, it has 818,000, but only 45,000 sold this week. And then we see another debut at 33, another debut at 32, another one that's been out for a couple of weeks. The Raleigh Jefferson's Awesome Friendly Adventure, 167,000 copies in the last month. Big Preschool came out in July, has since July, so it's taken 3 months for this book to reach what Dogman Volume 8 reached in 1 month last year. And I predict that Dogman, Grime and Punishment, will probably surpass that this year. And again, you want to know what it is? This is what it is. It's a comic book. Okay, don't get me wrong. This is nice, shiny paper. This is comic books, people. My wife secretly hates Dogman and Captain Underpants because all my son reads is comic books and doesn't read prose books, which is kind of a falsehood because he read Charlotte's Web twice this week. Comic book. 500, well, this one, 240,000 copies, week of release. Let's take a look over at our good friends over at Comic Cron. The Comic Cron site. This is, what are we looking at? We are looking at July of 2020. We see that Batman 95 and Batman 94 took the top 2 spots in the direct market. Direct market, that means people who ship to comic book shops or who have subscriptions. Not Comixology. Comixology is not counted in this. Interesting thing. When DC decided to leave Diamond a couple of months ago, that threw Diamond in a tizzy because now they really have no way of reporting estimates of comic sales to anybody. They can tell you what's in the top 10. And again, even what Comic Cron has is an estimate because they had to call like 6,000 different stores to figure out, rough estimate. They're also working with ICV2 with their point of sale system to figure out how many people were buying comics. That being said, on average, a single issue of Batman sells around 100,000 copies a month. A single issue of Batman sells around 100,000 copies a month. $500,000 copies in 1 month. All in all, just so you can go, well, okay, so that means that Batman sells 1.2 million copies a year. How good could Dogman be? Can Dogman sell 1.2 million copies a year? In the first 7 volumes of Dogman, Dogman has sold somewhere, let me get this correct here. Dave Pilkey, this is from an article at 2019. Since its debut in 2016, so this is a year old, more than 26 million copies of the first 7 books in the series have been printed, according to Scholastic. And I know that says printed. That's almost the equivalent, not quite, but the equivalent of saying sold. So do the math. Somebody do the math really quick. Here, I've got my phone. Let's do the math. So let's say that in 3 years, let's see, calculator, 26 million, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just because we're going to do it right, divided by 3 is, no, that's not right, not multiplied by 3. Divided by 3, 8.6 million a year, divide that by 12, 722,000 copies sold roughly a month in order to get 26 million copies. And here's the interesting thing. So many kids are going to discover Dogman, Grime and Punishment this month or this year when they're at school or at home or wherever that they may be. All these kids are going to discover it. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to go and buy the previous 8 volumes. Or they're going to ask their parents to get the previous 8 volumes, or those volumes are going to trickle out over time. And so by this time next year, I'm going to bet that Dogman series, since its debut in 2016, will have sold more than 35 million copies in its existence. Again, a book, a comic book, selling 35 million copies, 26 million copies if we want to go that far. Better than anything Stephen King has sold. Better than anything that, these other people are sold here on the list. Batman. Yeah, 1.2 million a year maybe as an estimate. Maybe a little bit higher than that. Maybe a little bit lower than that. Certainly in 2020, it's going to be a lot lower than that. I know what you're saying. Oh, come on, Stephen. You've got a little switch over there that says comics. Click on the thing on the Publishers Weekly site that says comics. Let's really see what comics are selling. Now, again, these aren't going to track individual issues. Oh, how many of you have heard of this comic? The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. This week sold 31,000 copies. Aha, look at that, Stephen. I bet Batman beats the Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Does it? Does it really? Because here's the thing about the Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse has been out since, let's see, the original release date, October of 2019. So just under a year, and it is still the number 1 selling comic in the comic category, as Publishers Weekly lists it. And it's still selling 30,000 a month. And I got to be honest with you, I look at this here on Amazon, and of course, if you want to pick up this book, you can. I wouldn't really call this a comic book. I'd call this illustrated prose, but whatever. It's still selling more than Batman. What else do we have on this list? Well, we have the Umbrella Academy, and certainly with the Umbrella Academy, the popularity of the series on Netflix is going to drive people to go and seek out the trade paperbacks, the collections. And so we see volume 1, 2, and 3 all hitting slots 2 through 4 on this week's selling list. And if we look at something like, 10,000 a month since its release, Dark Horse, I think, is doing okay. I know I talk about, what's going to happen with Dark Horse? Dark Horse has fallen so far since they lost the Disney books and since they lost the Star Wars books. Dark Horse is doing okay with the Umbrella Academy and with Hellboy and with their gaming art books. They're doing okay. We can also see some of these great titles like My Hero Academia, Volume 1. Since August 2015, now it's up to 9,000 copies, or down to 9,000 copies a month. And you got to realize that this is a curve that's going to fall, right? It's going to start off high, and then over time, it's going to drop, that long tail effect that we're talking about. But we see My Hero Academia Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 24, and those are the My Hero Academia books that last landed on here. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yalba Volume 15 is at number 7. Critical Role Vox Machina, or Origins Volume 2, again, another book from Dark Horse. And The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Volume 7, that is from Viz Media, rounding out the top 10 of the top sellers this week. That's in the comics section. Down to 9,000 copies. You're right, Just the Red says. Only down to 9,000 copies. Oh. Some comic books, when they get down to 3,000 copies. Some of them when they get down to 9,000 copies. Publishers are like, oh, that's not selling enough. We're going to have to cancel that. You know what's interesting? Let me see if I can find this really quick. I'm going to go back to 2019, to August of 2019. I'm going to see if I can find this. There was only one issue that they released that month from Publishers Weekly. I don't see it. I was doing some research on. So here's August of 2019, just so you can kind of put things in perspective. The Adventure Zone, Murder on the Rockport Limited, Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess Volume 5, My Hero Academia Volume 1, still selling about 9,000 copies a month a year ago. More Adventure Zone, Berserk, My Hero Academia. It's like, what's going on with this My Hero Academia thing? Maybe people should be paying attention to what's going on there. The manga everybody is buying. As I was traipsing through and looking at, some of the past records of what was selling in these categories, one of them did caught my eye because it was Superman Earth 1. Remember that? Remember the Earth 1 series that DC was putting out, these direct-to-book trade versions? Hardcovers. That was in the number 10 spot and had been for almost a year. Those Earth 1 books, when they debut, they tend to fall out at number 1 in the number 1 position. And if that's even 55,000 copies in the first week, and then they're staying in the top 10 for a year, maybe they're at 9,000 copies being sold, a year later. That's still more than anything Batman number 95 or Batman number 94 will ever sell. I had to sneak this out of my son's room while he was at school because he's going to read this thing nonstop again and again and again for the next month. I went on Twitter today. I asked people, how many times when you go out and pick up that single issue, how many times are you rereading that? One person said, I read it once and then I save it. If I like the arc, I'll wait for the trade. The trade will be my revisit. The single issue is just part of the collection. I usually read a book once, says another person, and never again. Yeah. That's pretty sad. If I were Gail Simone, if I were Mark Wade, if I were Kurt Busiek, we'll come back to him in a minute. If I was Brian Michael Bendis, if I was Dan Slott, I would be choking the ever-loving heck out of my frickin' editors at my publishing company and saying, what in the F are you doing? You claim every day that comics are dying, and yet Dogman will outsell anything I ever write in my 20-year run of Spider-Man. Why? Because publishers continue to be set on this old, dead method of selling comic books. I know I've harped on this many a times, but I think every time a new Dogman book comes out, you'll hear me bring up this topic. Because comic book publishers are doing it wrong. They are being complicit. They are placating the comic shop owner who needs to have single issues coming out every single week. Oh, we got to have a new issue coming out every single week or we're not going to be able to stay in business. Maybe your store is a piece of crap and you don't need to stay in business, would be my reply. Now, Boom Studios, I think, is doing it right. Boom Studios, IDW Publishing, even Image Comics with the latest Pulp from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips have said, screw this. We're not going to release this stuff in single issues. We're going to release OGNs. We're going to release stuff that's direct to the trade, whether it be hardcover or softcover. And those things are going to sell better because they can get in bookstores easier. They have a longer shelf life. My Hero Academia a year later is still, from the last time that we saw it, and this is something that came out in 2015, still selling 9,000 copies a month. Just run the numbers. 9,000 copies a month for 5 years. How many copies of that? We got a calculator. Let's do this. Let's clear that. 9,000 times 12 times 5. Is that right? That's still 500,000 copies sold a year of that book. And I guarantee you it's sold a lot more in years past. So what is it with the comic book publishers that are so insistent that we have to sell these books a single issue at a time? We have to create false cliffhangers so people will come back next month. We have a publishing schedule that requires comic shop owners to order stuff 3 months in advance on titles that we're not even sharing them information about what the comic is about. And then we're constantly starting over with new number ones, new story arcs. things that could be collected into a trade and sold that way. Maybe Batman, instead of coming out every month, maybe you come out every 3 months and you have 6 issues ready to go in 3 months and you package it together in the new Batman volume to tell your story. I know Marvel could do this because every 6 months they're rebooting Black Widow, Iron Man, Thor, whatever it may be. If the publishers were smart, they would have taken the time during COVID to say, not to put your pencils down, but please bust your asses and work harder so that we can get 6 months ahead, so that when we're actually able to ship comics, we can easily transition over to this new form of selling comic books. And we're just going to release our, a new Iron Man every 6 months. It's going to be a complete story, complete trade. You can pick it up. Maybe if they want to do something once a year. Now, Dogman here is something like 200 and some pages long, I want to say. 236 pages long. Let's get out the calculator again. 236 pages divided by, 236 divided by 28. That's 8 issues, 8.5 issues of comics. That's in this book. Dave Pilkey. God, this guy's a genius. Releases releases a new one every year. You know it's about Dogman time when it starts to become fall. Because he knows if I can get that into the books, into the libraries around the country, some kid's going to pick it up and read it, and they're going to go home and they're going to say, Mom, Dad, I discovered Dogman. I know that's how we did it. We found Dogman at probably about volume 5. And then we had to go back and buy all the other issues and buy all of these issues. So yes, while I can sit here and say, oh, look at how great a parent I am because I went out and bought some reading material for my son, just like 231,000 other people, 39,000, 240,000 people and counting. The question we should really be asking ourselves is, why are we still stuck on the stupid floppy issue? Why are publishers killing themselves on stupid floppies? Kurt Busiek has not released a new Astro City comic in, 2 years, 3 years, because he's slowly been working on the direct-to-trade volume. And that should be coming up soon. I don't know how that affected him during the coronavirus, the COVID lockdown. But I'm going to expect that when that comes out, not only will it be a top seller, it will be a New York Times bestseller when it releases, because it's in a book form. It can be released through a lot of different venues, not just comic book stores. Batman, you're weak. Batman, you're not strong. Batman, Dogman is beating you. And if I were AT&T, and if AT&T were watching this, first of all, AT&T, come visit majorspoilers.com. We can have a lot of discussions about how your technology can help improve Major Spoilers. And by technology, I mean your money. But if I were AT&T, I'd be rapping on the heads of the now people in charge and saying, what are you doing to make Batman outsell Dogman? I'd be going up to Brian Michael Bendis and saying, Brian Michael Bendis, I know you like to write things long form. How about we collect those and you only release Action Comics or Superman or Legion of Superheroes once or twice a year? That'll give you time to just work. Knock out the script as quickly as you can. Let's hand it off to artists. Let them work on it. Get some good quality stuff. Let's pay them high quality rates. And then we can sell Dogman. This has I think I paid $10. This has a $13 SRP on it. So let's do the math again. We said 8.5. Whoops, let's see. Come on. $13 divided by 8.5. That's $1.50 an issue. Let's see what people have been saying. Oh, yes. Let's not even forget that. Hey, how do we get kids hooked on comics? They're already hooked on comics. They're just not hooked on your suck comics. Let's see. Patiently waits for the very long and weird Charmin commercial to finish. I don't know what that means. I haven't been squeezing the Dogman that often, but maybe there is a Dogman commercial or a Charmin commercial that runs before this. When I was a bookseller, I always thought it was strange that comics and graphic novels were not considered real books, and so many parents were determined to have their kids move to reading real books. And I've had this conversation with my wife. Comic books is real books. She won't believe it, but that is her contention. He's reading. There are big words in these books oftentimes, often big enough words in here that you're going to find in Charlotte's Web or The Trumpet Swan or Ralph and the Motorcycle. Just so you kind of know, just kind of where we're at, in the comic book section from last month at Publishers Weekly, Watchmen was, I think, the number 3 position. In the past, Watchmen as a trade collection, this is why they've always kept it in print, sells roughly 1 million copies a year. The year that the Watchmen movie came out, they sold 3 million copies of that. So there's something to be said about the trade. Holy ravioli. Same thing with as manga. Viz Media sells way more comics than DC or Marvel worldwide. I would argue they probably sell more comics than DC or Marvel just here in the United States. Because again, they're in a whole different marketing system. They're in the bookstores where you can go into the manga section of the bookstore and see all of the My Hero Academia stuff. I tell you, I haven't been in a comic book store in a long time. I would be surprised if I went in and found the entire run of My Hero Academia on the shelf at a regular comic book store. Growing up in the 80s, it always shocks me to realize how much of a niche market comic books have become. I never would have been able to get into this hobby at a current price. That is correct. Price is too high. Again, $1.50 an issue, essentially, for Dogman. I can spend $13, and knowing my son is going to read this at least 10 times in the next year, if not more, and he's probably going to be reading all the other ones, I got a heck of a value out of this compared to the $5 that someone on Twitter is saying, I'm going to read it once and put it into my collection. As I said before, I no longer collect print copies. I no longer purchase print copies of comics. I don't have room for it. Let's see. Just the book's worldwide sales of My Hero Academia or Demon Slayer, whatever it is, worldwide is quite different. It's like 10 million, and I assure you no issue of Batman sells anything outside of North America at those numbers. No. Now, trade paperback is a very different idea, but I guarantee you when we look at this list and we're looking at the Adventure Zone, or we're looking at, you know, the Vox Machina, the Critical Role thing that is coming out, those are going to sell more than Batman in the long term, as far as a collected volume goes, because it's going to be able to sit on the shelf for years until someone finds what they want. Okay, Umbrella Academy, coming from 5 years ago, selling a lot more, 8 years ago, selling a lot more copies than what we see today. I reread my trades once every few years. That's great. Only American superhero comics are dying. No, I don't think that it's American superhero comics. I think it is the American comic book publishers which are in trouble. Because you got to remember that while I said Dark Horse is okay, they still on their single floppy issue, their trades, their pamphlet issues, their month-to-month sale issues, they're hurting there. And they don't do as many superhero capes and tights stuff. I think trades become much more popular in Canada before the U.S. Mind you, it's all distribution is a little different. Sure, we deal with Diamond, but we aren't tied to them. That's true. Also, I would think that you probably do better with the trades because of taxes that you have to pay on the import of those comics, right? Where it's probably more cost prohibitive to have your store stock like 500 copies of Batman as opposed to 50 copies of Dogman, just from the tax side. Europe and Japan seem to be doing fine without any weekly comics, huh? I wonder what's going on there. No idea. It's because people are stuck in this old way of thinking. That's what it is. Asterix, actually, there is a Paper Cuts just had a new volume of Asterix come out. It's an English adaptation, so I would want to go and get that. A store near me wanted to sell 3 Jokers for $9.95 Canada. Genuinely turned me off from shopping at the store. I think here in the U.S., I think it was a $9 comic here. $8.99, I believe, is what it was. I read the issue and it turned me off. Trades are more stable in pricing, says Just the Red. So there you go. There's how I go. That's how I tie going from being a great parent to what is wrong with the comics book industry today. Collect these things in trades, man. If Marvel absolutely thinks that The Amazing Spider-Man is a thing that needs to come out every week or every month, fine. Let Amazing Spider-Man come out every week or every month or however often they think that they want to sell their Spider-Man stuff. But their Ms. Marvel, their Captain Marvel, their Thors, throw that stuff in a trade and release it directly that way. I think you're going to find that you're going to end up with more sales in the long run. Earth 1 proved it. The problem is DC doesn't tout how often that those Earth 1 series hit the New York Times best-selling list and how much money they're making off of that in the back end, because they keep pushing the single-issue model, and that's wrong. That's going to kill them every single time. The latest asterisk is on Comixology, plus one or two other ones. Yeah, go get them. Go get them. Okay, that wraps it up for this. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a couple other things I was supposed to mention today. Wonder Woman, the movie, been pushed off to December. Guarantee you that when December rolls around, the Wonder Woman 84 movie is going to be pushed off again until 2021. Don't worry too much about it. In about a month, we'll see how Mulan does. We'll see these places changing their minds on that. Something. I think that's it. Have a good weekend, everybody. I hope you have a good one. I hope you stay safe. I hope you are well. I hope you're wearing your masks. I hope you're getting ready to vote in November, or if you're voting early in the United States, that you are turning in your ballots soon enough. Get all that stuff done, man. Let's change this around so we don't have red skies. Red skies at night, sailor's delight. Red skies all throughout the day, and you can't have trouble breathing. Tomorrow I'll be back, Marvel Avengers for the game stream, 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time. I know, that was a quick one, says Just the Red. I get on a roll, man. 30 minutes goes by like that. If you do have a kid in the age range that I guess is targeted by Dogman, that's the other thing is, certainly there are certain comics that are not targeted towards the young children, and the young children are the ones buying. I guarantee you, if you have a really good collection like Pulp that was a really great book, you put that in the right spots and people are going to find it of all ages. Okay? I was in full rant mode. It just annoys me that there's so much talent in the world. It annoys me that there's so much talent in the world and they are barely scraping by because of this single issue model or the month-to-month release model. That's why I'm a big favor of creators working on their own stuff and selling their own stuff and working with publishers like Image Comics, like Dark Horse Comics, like Boom, where they can keep their IP to themselves. Now, I don't know what the cut is that Dave is getting here, but just run the numbers. 26 million. Oh, look, I got a calculator here. 26 million times $13. That's $338 million. Now, I know comics is a $1 billion a year industry, but this is just, 7 volumes. 330. Now, imagine if you, and that's 7 volumes divided by 7. That's $48 million on average for each each volume that comes out. And let's say that you have, if you do it right, comic book publishers, even if you have like 2 or 3 of these things coming out a month, times 3. Now, I'm not saying they're all going to sell as well as Dogman. My son hates it when I call him Dogman. That's $144 million a month. I don't know, man. Still, okay, depending on his contract, 10 to 30% of that is what he's made back. So, Dogman. Yes, Dogman makes at least 1/3 of that $1 billion industry per year just on itself. So that's $333 million. Even if I'm taking home 1/3 of that every year. Now, granted, it's not every year, but if you think, like I said before, if you buy issue 9, there's a good chance you're going to buy the previous 8. Dave has made himself over $100 million in the last 7 years, 8 years. I didn't even get into Hilo from Judd Winnick. That's doing okay as well. Captain Underpants, we didn't even talk about Captain Underpants and what that's doing. And again, if I were a Dan Slott, if I were Mark Wade, if I were a Grant Morrison, well, Grant is kind of doing that, but if I were a Grant Morrison, I'd be saying, why are we releasing this stuff in a single issue? Come on, let's do this. Let's play it up. Let's make it a big hype. Let's get it out there. Let's get it into the hands of everyone in the world. We can do that if we put it in book form and not single floppy form. That's it for this week. Everybody do good, be good. I will see you again next time right here on twitch.tv/Major Spoilers. Make sure you subscribe, ring that bell, whatever it is, so you can get notified every time we go live. And we'll see you again really soon. Woo! Look at all these people. Here are the real people. These are the people that make the world turn at Major Spoilers. Without these fine people, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, and you can see your name right here as well. When you become a patron at patreon.com/Major Spoilers, what are you waiting for? Oh, crap. Speaking of waiting for, I think I do need to go pick up that child. So thank you, everyone. Just the Red most certainly is in this list, as is Kirby Evans, Lieutenant Floby, Linda Mario Alba, and so many more. I gotta update this list because I know there's new people joining every day. You can join too, patreon.com/Major Spoilers.